Alright guys, Hatchcraft back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Lots of drama going down as to exactly why some of these teams in the CDL have not just been so bad this season, but have been so bad for so long over the last several years. And as in many traditional sports, the attention is now turning to the coaching staff. Lots of discussions that many of these coaches are not just useless, but actually might be counterproductive to the success of some of these rosters and organisations. Very much enjoy to your perspective in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, to mad drama on the Challengers side. Yesterday was Challengers Cup number 2, and I got to say, it is hilarious, right? This last Wednesday, that was when the new maps arrived. Vista, Departures, other maps that are potentially viable for competitive play. The majority of pros, and I would say the majority of just casual competitive players like ourselves, probably in favour of getting at least Vista into the game. Abizi and others have definitely made that point known quite widely. But it's not possible because the CDL set the deadline for changing the map set on the Tuesday. Which, well, it feels rather frustrating because Sledgehammer, to be fair to them, have given us a lot of work into making these new maps that actually should be viable. And probably Vista will be in the rotation in due course. But the fact that it's not in now, and it probably won't be in until the start of the Major 3 qualifiers, is just pretty tragic because that's like April and the game is out right about now. So not ideal by any means. But the explanation behind why they made that deadline then was because, well, at least for the Challengers Cup, we want to ensure, we really care about Challengers and we want to ensure that, you know, everything that happens that they've played on for the last couple of weeks is then maintained and there's no map set changes right before their Challengers Cup. So, you know, obviously Challengers is a real top priority here for the CDL, as we can tell by some of the outcomes of yesterday. So first of all, in this Challengers Cup number 2 that FACEIT now runs. So let's not forget, Game Battles is dead, rest in peace, and therefore FACEIT has taken over the running here. And, you know, there are some problems with the way that FACEIT is running the show at the moment. Even stair glitching, which is, you know, look, this is maybe GA'd, and the discussion was that it's not even going to be penalised, so basically just feel free to do what you want on this one. But this was the big talking point of yesterday, that certain teams, big name teams, were getting forfeited from the Cup for reasons that really shouldn't even exist. So this is what was actually said here, as Shoxy says to this admin. It seems, if you guys could just about see this, we had a buy, so we thought we had more time. We checked in at 12:10, it said we had a buy, and I'll explain what this actually means in a second. Dubu says, I guess one of the, the admins, unfortunately, there's no way to revert this anymore. Your opponents waited more than 30 minutes according to the rules. You guys didn't arrive on time. If they agree to play, can we play? But apparently, due to the way that FACEIT works, the platform might not be designed well enough. Once a decision has been made, it's kind of final. So what's happened here, and what's actually happened again later on with another very notable team, as Phantom says, this is insane, where are the cameras, no way this is real, and this also happened later on with Donny Temp's roster, with Temp, 2Real, Dave Paddy and Yuli. So I believe what happened here is, those guys had a bye in the first round as one of the upper seeds. The team they were meant to play next did not have a bye, so they were expecting to play the winner of a game that was currently ongoing. So they, you know, dropped into ranked play, they warmed up, they did all this stuff, but actually the other game of which the winner they were meant to play was a forfeit result very quickly. So the other team that they were meant to play was advanced far earlier than Temp's team and Shoxy's team were expecting, and therefore that team checked in for their game, and because Donny Temp's team didn't check in for the game in time, they were then eliminated by forfeit from the tournament, despite the fact that their scheduled game time was actually significantly later than when they actually would have meant to play the game. So, I mean, there's fault on both sides here, really. At the end of the day, you might expect these guys just, you know, maybe just refresh it, just check, see what's going on. But this would not have been a problem previously, but for whatever reason, the FACEIT admins or the FACEIT platform means that if those circumstances arise, there's nothing they can really do. So, as far as I'm aware, because I don't think there's been updates on this, Donny Temp's team are gone, you know, one of the top seeds. They're out top 256, so that's not the best result, and the same elsewhere as well. And the annoying thing is, I guess, for these guys, that it's not like they wouldn't have been willing to play, as Shoxy says. Like, if the other team is ready to play us and is down to play the game, then, you know, can we play? But they're like, yeah, nah, that ain't gonna happen. To even take it to another level, there was this that I spotted, which I thought was completely outrageous. So as Pookie here says, that they played against a team that won map 1, 252-49, and the guy dropped 50 kills. But, you know, we go to map 4, and then they've effectively forced him. They thought, all right, this guy is dropped a 50 bomb. He might be a bit suspect, right? Potentially something going on there, maybe some walls, whatever. So put the monitor cam on map 4. He puts the monitor cam on. they get slammed map 4. So, okay, going map 5, this guy who dropped the 50 bomb says, you know what, actually, I don't really want a monitor cam anymore. I'm going to turn it off because it's not enforced by the admins, and therefore we're just going to turn that thing off. And then when those guys lost the map 5 to this guy that, I mean, let's be honest, right? If he's turned on the monitor cam after dropping a 50 bomb and then has been slammed and then says, you know what, actually, I'm going to turn it off again, it kind of, like, are you not just admitting to cheating at that point pretty much? You know what I mean? Like, come on, it can't get much more obvious than that. But apparently, the monitor cam on, after it was requested, should have been enforced, but because the game was altered, you know, because the match had ended, and then they told the admins, they were like, yeah, actually, yeah, sorry, it's too late now, there's nothing we could do about it. So, it's just not great, is it, right? And all the talk about, well, we're really going to make sure the map pool is locked in for a great Challengers Cup upcoming where there's going to be no problems, it's going to run flawlessly. It's just not great. And, you know, as EasyMax says on Faceit here, that maybe if Faceit have hired people that actually worked in COD, then you wouldn't have some of these problems, which is probably true as well. Growing pains will happen, but yeah, it's just not pretty seeing a lot of the stuff that's happened. There's even this as well, just from the Sejima side, to note actually that the glitch spot on Subbase to contest is still there. So you guys might have known about this spot that they said that they fixed. It was fixed maybe if you were up on the stairs, but you can actually go under the stairs and still contest it. So hopefully Sledgehammer can fix that one kind of quickly because, you know, just get Vista in the game at this point is kind of what I'm looking for. But let's talk about all this drama with regard to the coaching staffs, right? It's no secret that there are a few coaching staffs in the league that actually seem to do something. Toronto, New York Subliners, historically over the last couple of years, seem to have a really great team culture, and that is, well, amplified and enforced to some degree by the coaching staff that they have. Other teams, I must say I'm somewhat surprised that some of these coaches that have been in the league for several years that have not really achieved that much success have not exactly escaped without criticism, because they have got criticism, but, you know, their team still keeps them on and they think, oh, well, maybe it's the players' fault. And sure, primarily in an esport that's 4 versus 4, the players are going to be fundamentally responsible for how the team performs. But in regular sports, the coaches are like the be-all and end-all. If the team doesn't perform, it's the coach that goes rather than the players, generally speaking. I think that is different in esports because there's fewer players on the team, and I think for good reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the coaches can just get a free paycheck at the end of the day. And obviously Toronto are doing good things in and out of the game for them, because the decision to remove Terminal Hardpoint means that there is 0 maps in the active pool from the Hardpoint perspective that Toronto have actually lost. So that is pretty outrageous. But the flank episode they did a couple of days ago was an absolute all-timer, world-class episode. And Ben Jadesy was going off on the main stage here. Like, he was talking, and I think for very good reason, on what he's heard about some of the coaching staffs here in the league. And Octane agrees, and Aches agrees, that some of these guys are not just useless, but actually arguably counterproductive to the success of their culture and their rosters.
I agree with Pat. I think franchising has created some bad situations. To Pat's point, people that aren't on the book championships contenders lack culture, right? Because the players aren't bringing culture. You would think the coaching staffs would help resolve some. I don't think
the coaches might be worse.
Bro, that's what I'm getting to. I've talked to probably 7.
Bro,
it's actually
they absolutely are. And most of them haven't played.
Bro,
yeah.
The number of players I have talked to in the last 5 years, it probably count on 2 hands. Like, there's not 3 people. Sam, you probably agree. And they come and we talk to them, you know, after the season about their team situation. And I say, look, like, talk about systemic issues they're having behind the scenes. I'm like, where are the coaches? Coaches are nowhere to be found. That's why we need to go back to something similar to what we had in the CWL, because there's accountability there on bad teams, bro. If you're a bad team at the beginning of the year, even if everybody was getting paid $7,000 a month, if you didn't qualify for the Pro League, you sucked. Like, now it's like, well, everybody's making a nice minimum check. You get 12, so be it. Enjoy your vacation in Cancun instead of going to Champs in Vegas. Like, we'll try again in October. It's like now there's just too much complacency. And I get it, bro. Like, maybe we're overgeneralizing. You know, people still want to win. They still want to go hard.
We're not overgeneralizing.
Bro, on so many of these teams, I'm just tired every season I talk. But like, I have talked to a number of players over the last 5 years where they have felt like their team environment was not positive, and then they reach out to the coaching staff to help address that, to do side work, and the coaches basically accepted they were going to draw out that player and basically just like kind of egoed them. So like, that's my point. Like, these team environments, these cultures are completely and utterly fucked up.
That happened
to the core. Yes, I probably named...
So the most notable example that I could think of that really represented what Ben talked about there towards the end was Vivid on the Los Angeles Guerrillas. If you guys remember this during the Cold War season, LAG had a very interesting roster to start out that year. They pretty much brought over what was, because it was going back to 4 versus 4, so they pretty much brought on the World War II championship winning roster from the 2018 season, which actually Aches was on. But it was Aches, Silly, Apathy, and Assault. Pretty sure their Cold War roster was Aches, Silly, and Assault, but with Vivid instead of Aches, basically, because Aches had taken the bag the year before and then effectively called it a day and retired. So yeah, the team of Vivid, Assault, Silly, and Apathy was pretty terrible, as most people expected them to be. But Vivid was brand new to the league and had a very, well, he was pretty much brand new in. He'd had a very bright start to the season, looked very impressive. There was one series they played against FaZe. I think they won it in a game 5, and Vivid was the MVP by far. So he was definitely their best player, I think everybody said. And he went on later in the year to join Dallas Empire and had good success with them after they got rid of Hook and they put Fellow in, and they did a few changes. But it was mind-blowing that in April or so, Vivid was benched by the Los Angeles Guerrillas, and we couldn't really figure out why. There was then rumours coming out after the fact that Vivid had said to the team, said to the coaching staff, like maybe it was Ricky and Bevel, or whoever exactly was coaching over there at the time, I think that might be correct, that look, he wasn't happy with the team culture. He thought that, these guys either weren't putting in the work or they just weren't good enough, right? Vivid was like, look, if we want to get to the next level, you guys are going to need to make some roster changes here. And they told Vivid, you know what, you might be right about making roster changes. We're going to put you to the bench. We're not happy about it, the way that you're treating this situation. So you're out of there. And of course, the team only got worse, really. They, Mental and Chino and, these guys came through. And it didn't really make any sense from like a role perspective or anything. So that was the most kind of prominent example I can think of a scenario where a player has, at least we believe, gone to the coaching staff and said, hey, if we actually want to be serious about this, we're going to have to do X, Y, Z, and they just straight up got rid of him. So, as I say, there's a few coaching staffs. I mean, we're talking FaZe, obviously. I didn't even mention them earlier, but they're definitely aligned with this as well. FaZe, New York, Toronto. Optic, I think there are still some questions about, like how, what Karma's like as a coach, how that works with JP. But I think we've seen evidence from New York Subliners coaching staff, certainly from Toronto's. And of course, Crowder and those boys at FaZe get a lot of credit. But there's always talk about, maybe in grand finals, they should be doing better than they actually are. And maybe that's not all just on the players, right? But are some of these coaches effectively stealing a living by doing nothing, right? Because we don't really know what the coaches do. And it's difficult to analyze it from an outside perspective. We don't really see the coaches. They're not really on the stage in the with the headset on as they used to be. Back in the day, they could be behind the players and communicate with them during the match itself. That's no longer a thing, and it hasn't been that way for several years now. So they operate more so behind the scenes. They have to set the standards, they have to set the culture of the team, but if the culture of the team isn't really delivering anything special, then what do they actually do? And this is a question when Marky B was on Toronto, seemed to be doing a great job over there, and I really like Marky B, but he left Toronto, goes to join Los Angeles Guerrillas, and can't really replicate the same success there that he had when he was on Toronto. So it does make you wonder what's going on, right? And I do wonder whether there's going to be a bit more of a trend over the next couple of years towards coaches being held somewhat more responsible. I mean, of course, we saw it with Brian Saint, right? He was on the Minnesota Rocker. They let him go. He's now gone to the Carolina Royal Ravens. Looney, though, is still over there on Rocker. And we don't know. Like, I'm sure the teams, the organizations must have some feeling as to that these guys are doing a good job. But it doesn't always seem to be the case. Then again, it's not like these organizations have a crazy amount of talent to work with. If you're not one of the top teams, you can't sign, theoretically, like a fantastic team. So you're working an uphill battle. But I've got to think that these guys could, be doing a better job than maybe they are. And that's certainly what Octane believes. That's certainly what Ache seems to believe. So which teams and organizations and coaches specifically might they be talking about there? And especially when it comes to bringing up rookie players, having a good culture and system and everything around it is massively influential. And I don't think that exists out of very few teams. Like, really, to me, Toronto have the best culture. New York, I think, are right up there. And I've got questions over, at least some questions over pretty much every other team in the entire league. So very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.